Central New York, and hello, hockey fans all across the internet, and welcome to 315 Hockey Live, brought to you by 315hockey.com and powered by My Little Falls. I'm your host, Scott Kinville, and this is it. This is the last show for our very first season, our rookie season, if you will. This is it. You know, we're into May. I tell you, we've been going since October. It's been a long grind, but it's been fun. It's been
35 episodes.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah,
not bad. I can't believe we haven't been thrown off the internet yet.
Well, the notices have been coming to my house.
I'm glad you got a shredder.
Yeah, I do. I actually do.
But, you know, as usual, we got a great show lined up. We got another award show, which I love these award shows. They're so much fun. They're so much fun. We did one Monday night for the Utica Comets. And, of course, we're going to close out our season with our 315 neighbors, you know, the Comets, neighbors, rivals, bitter rivals, but neighbors nonetheless, the Syracuse Crunch. Before I bring our guest in who's going to help us out with this award show, of course, my trusty sidekick over here, Mr. Dave the Save Warner. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
You got this big smile on your face because I know
we're talking tacos tonight.
Yeah, you've got something planned for. Oh man, I got a feeling that
I'm going to rock your world, buddy.
Yeah, I'm sure I got myself into trouble.
You did
on Monday night.
Yeah,
probably. Yeah, I'm sure. Well,
guest appearance by Rob. No, just kidding.
That would just top it off.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah. Oh boy. Anyways, so let's get going with this award show. To help us out with this Syracuse Crunch show, I have brought in the big guns tonight. I have brought in the one person who I knows more about the Crunch than anybody that I know, really. She covers the Crunch for Field Pass Hockey. She is the host of Syracuse Speaks podcast. She is the one, the only, the unimitable Alex Ackerman. How are you?
Thank you for that. I'm doing well, and congratulations on your first season.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Like I said, I can't believe we're still around.
It's a lot of work to do this, you know, especially you all upload much more than I'm able to do with Syracuse Speaks. So, you know, you have a lot to be proud of.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'll tell you, your podcast is fantastic. And for anybody who wants to know anything about the Crunch, that's the one to go to. And you're all over the place with that, aren't you?
Yeah, it's syndicated in a couple of different places. It goes on Field Pass Hockey, but we're on all of the major streaming services, and a couple of places here in the Finger Lakes also put it out there. And it's been nice to see the attention that it gets, because especially as things have changed with the league and individual beat writers dedicated to teams aren't really a thing in most major markets, including Syracuse anymore. It's kind of a gap in coverage and a gap in, you know, necessary information and just discussion about what's going on with the team in the here and now. And I've gotten a lot of positive feedback in that direction. So it's been nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, and it's nice to talk about the teams that you love covering. And it's just, it's a labor of love, but it's great. It really is. So anyways, I'll tell you what, why don't we get this show going? Because like I said, we got 7 categories to get through, and it's a lot of fun. We've got visuals all lined up for a couple of the categories. But first of all, before we get going, I'm going to let everybody know how this goes. So I'm going to read off the category. I'm going to read off the nominees. Alex is going to give us her pick. I'm going to have my pick. If we agree, the music plays. Great. We move on to the next category. If not, Dave the Save here is the tiebreaker. So this could get off the rails or interesting in a hurry.
I think you should do the naming, and before you guys do your pick, we do the music, because the key thing is you guys picking, right? I mean,
if that's the way you want to do it, listen.
I don't know.
By the way, Alex, we have no scripts.
Alex, Alex, here it is. Here's the music. You think about how this would fit.
Okay.
And Alex's pick would be.
It does kind of, yeah.
See
it
the
does
timing
kind of
on that.
Yeah, like it's like you're on the board at the draft and things are happening and you need to name your pick. I kind of see where you're coming from.
That's the vibe I was going for, you know?
You know, the vibe I get is there should be like neons going across the screen every time you play that.
I can do that too.
And Alex, just so you know, our awards are called the 315s. We don't have actual awards. I didn't get that far into it. Might have to just, make out certificates in crayon or something and send them to the Crunch offices. But
Yeah.
I did try to help him name them last week or
Yeah,
Monday.
well.
It was the Woolies, but he didn't go with it.
yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah.
So
And I'm sure your budget is just about as great as mine is.
yeah, pretty much.
Type of thing. So real awards, I'm sure, were not in a line that you were considering right now.
Well, maybe instead of bringing back those cans that I would have to make the budget, maybe we'll just give those out.
Yeah, really. Jeez.
Boy, oh boy. Well, I'll tell you what, let's get going. The first category is the unsung hero. Every team's success is based on, of course, you got your stars, but you also got those players that don't get recognized for everything they do, even though they're such an integral part of their teams. And the nominees are number 1, Daniel Walcott. Daniel played in 67 games. He had 13 goals, 19 assists for 32 points. He was a plus 12. He had 103 penalty minutes, 104 shots, and he also had 3 game-winning goals. Nominee number 2, Philippe Myers. He played in 52 games. He had 8 goals, 21 assists for 29 points. He had 136 shots. He had, 2 game-winning goals and 3 shorthanded goals. And nominee number 3 is Trevor Carrick. Trevor played in 60 games. He had 15 goals, 31 assists for 46 points. He had 172 shots. He was a plus 15, and he had 4 power play goals. Okay, with that said then, since we're going to do this the way Dave the Save wants to do it,
Well, I thought you were going to expand more, but no.
well,
All
because
right.
when I get to mine,
I forgot to even take notes when you were talking. I'm screwed on this one.
We're
You guys
off the
better
rails.
agree.
We're off the rails.
All right.
All right. So
I gotta look at the notes. I have them up. I don't know. Does Dave the Save not have access to them?
I
Oh,
don't
no.
have access to them. I usually scribble little things on a pad here. He doesn't trust me with the notes. That's the problem.
he's right.
Because when he was doing Marty's illegal stick, he'd have this question and I'd be Googling it under the table.
Yeah. Trivia. He cheated every
Yeah,
week.
we've all been there.
It was terrible. Mr. Technology over here ruined trivia every week.
Oh, yeah.
Oh boy. So anyways, Alex, what do you think? Who is the unsung hero for the Syracuse Crunch?
I am. Oh, is the music going to play yet? I'm not even sure.
Should we do it?
Oh,
Fantastic.
She gets it.
see, there we
It
go.
was missing and she gets it.
All right. My pick for Unsung Hero for this past season, and I'm going to go with someone I wasn't sold on at the start. I'm going to go with Philippe Myers. I think that he was a good addition, and he had some adjustment periods that kind of made me wince. There was one specific moment that I'm sure is just absolutely blazed into every Crunch fan's memory where he made a rather large mistake and a goal was scored and it was not pretty, but he recovered really well. And I really think became an integral part, especially when Darren Radish was called up later on in the season. I think he really became a huge part of the blue line and the team's effort and, potential, especially heading into the playoffs. So I'm going to say I did a little bit of a 180 on this player as his time with the Crunch went on, and I'm going to go with Myers.
All right. Well, I got to tell you, we're going to have a disagreement right off the bat. Dave the Save, you better get your pen ready because you're going to have to. I'll tell you, you know what? This was actually a very, very tough choice. Totally get what you're saying about Myers. Plus the fact that he had 3 shorthanded goals. That was very impressive to me. I was also extremely impressed with the way Trevor Carrick really stepped up. Right after, Radish went up to Tampa Bay, there was kind of a little bit of a void at that point. And I'll tell you, Trevor Carrick grabbed the reins and he went with it. Had a tremendous season. But my pick is going to be Dan Walcott. I mean, I'll tell you what, he is one of those guys that he just brings everything to the table and he leaves it all on the ice. He really does. You need grit. That's what he provides. He will put anybody through the boards that you need to. But he's also got a scoring touch. I mean, 13 goals is really good. And I'll tell you, for everything that this guy does in the community, he's just a tremendous all-around person. He was on the show a few weeks ago. So yeah, I got to know him a little bit better than the other two. But I will say that as far as I'm concerned, I'm going with Daniel Walcott. So with that said,
Alex, you could change your mind.
He's starting to sweat. You should see him.
As an ELA teacher for another month and a half.
What is that? Extra length arms?
No, English language arts.
Okay, all right, just checking.
Extra like
I have to
ours.
go with that word unsung when I'm really thinking about this, because I would not consider Walcott to be unsung. I think
Okay.
that he absolutely was an integral part of this team and has been for 8 years now. I don't consider him to be like under the radar, unsung
Right.
in those areas. So that's,
That's a really good point.
as a stickler for the language thing,
Sure.
that's what I'm looking at, just to throw that out there.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a good thing you're around because this one over here has no idea what ELA means anyway. So,
I thought that was pretty snappy that I came up
oh
with.
yeah,
that,
you're snappy.
that quick. Come on, what could you come up with?
Not that.
Oh, jeez. I mean,
But-
we even have, we have feedback from the floor too.
Okay,
you know?
let's. Lucas Edmonds, that's another good one. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely, absolutely. But anyways, now that we've got,
Trevor filling Radish's shoes seems like that would have been maybe the toughest thing to do. So I would have split the vote here.
well,
But if I have to, I'm going to go with Myers.
okay, fair enough. Hey, I like it. I like it. I just like watching you just
Make
grind
shit,
your teeth.
make
and-
shit up.
Yeah.
That's what you like.
Well,
yeah.
that too, but
That too, yeah. Yeah, that's that.
all right. Well, the first 315 of the night has been awarded, and it's going to Philippe Myers. Very nice. Yeah, like I told you, this was really tough for me because I'm looking at these. I'm like, wow, each one of these guys has brought, I mean, and you know what? You actually make a very good point about Walcott. I mean, there's certainly no under the radar kind of thing with him. But, like I said, insofar as, and it's really hard, like we were talking before we went on the air, when you got a guy like Alex Beret around, it kind of, it casts a very, very big shadow, not a bad shadow, but a big shadow that, guys are got to step out of. But anyways, great pick there. Philippe Myers, the unsung hero. All right. Coming up next is Rookie of the Year. Now, this is another tough one right here. You got some really good rookies out on the crunch. We'll start off with Declan Carlisle. He played 69 games. He had 8 goals, 16 assists for 24 points. He was a plus 28 on the season. He had 2 game-winning goals. He was 4th in the AHL in the regular season in plus minus. Also on defense, Jack Thompson, he had 71 games played, 8 goals, 15 assists for 23 points. He was a plus 1, and he took 136 shots this season. And the third one is, and it's hard to believe that he's still a rookie technically because it seems like he's been with the Crunch for a few seasons. I mean, it's kind of uncanny. But anyways, it's Hugo Olnefeld. The goaltender had 33 goals, or I'm sorry, he played in 33 games. He had a 2.77 goals against average. He had a record of 17, 12, and 2. He had a 904 save percentage, and he also had 3 shutouts. Now, Hugo was 20th in the AHL in goals against average, and he finished 7th in the AHL in shutouts. All right, Dave, we're going to go to Alex for her pick, but first, cue up the music that I know you want to play. Okay, Alex, who is your Syracuse Crunch Rookie of the Year?
I just want to say I find it very interesting that all of these choices are on the more defensive side of things, including the goaltender, considering Syracuse's defensive struggles. So that's telling in more ways than one. But with that said, I am going to go with Declan Carlisle.
Okay, that's a really good choice. I tell you, steady. You would watch him play. It's hard to believe that he was a rookie.
I agree.
It really is just a steady Eddie back there. He really was.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, even if you wanted to go back to the unsung hero, you're right about the defensive side of things. But I'll tell you that Syracuse D-corps was really good overall. It really was. And I mean, so you could almost kind of lump them in as an unsung hero. But we're past that. I don't want to backtrack here.
Quit talking ELA.
That's right. That is right.
It's a nasty word.
But hey, listen, I'm just glad that Rookie of the Year, we're not going to get hung up on the technicality.
We could. There's still time.
Yeah, well, yeah, right, exactly. But you know what, though, Alex, I got to agree with you on this one. I really do. This kid stepped in, and he was, just like I said, he was solid throughout the entire season. And, it's funny for a kid who's playing in his first season in the AHL, just never seemed to make a mistake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
his professional poise was very impressive all season long. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I kind of wanted to go with Olnefeld, but, like I said, he played last season, And I believe he got a game or two in the season before. So he was really taking that rookie season thing to the max. Let's put it that way. And not to mention, when you're a goaltender like that, you're in a tandem, you got Max Legacy there too. That helps out a lot, takes a lot of pressure off. Whereas Declan Carlisle played in all but 3 games. So for me, that was the deciding factor right there. So congratulations to Declan Carlisle. He gets the 315 for the Syracuse Crunch Rookie of the Year. And again, maybe we'll try to make up a certificate or something. I don't know. Okay, so this next one, this is kind of a weird category, but it's one that I just like to have fun with a little bit. Alex, hockey players are so proud of their hair. Whether they call it flow. I mean, I guess now the term is lettuce. We've been covering some youth hockey and all that. That's what the kids are all saying.
It means let us show you.
Kids.
Look, I got a head of lettuce. Look at this.
No, it's let us show you our hair.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. They just shortened it.
Listen, you got yourself behind on the ELA part. I don't think you're catching up.
ELA here.
I don't think you're catching up.
Cover me, girl.
Forget about it. You're done. That is it. But anyways, for this category, we've actually got some visuals. We like to bring that. So anyways, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, number 1 is Gage Gonsalves. Look at that hair. I like that. I mean, look at it. It's got that. It's going everywhere all at once. I love it. And you know what? Another thing, Alex, I got to tell you, I'm pretty much bald. So I'm jealous of all these guys, right? So this is just great. Let's see. Number 2, pull that up there, Dave. That's Hugo Alnefeld. We just talked about him. Now, you know what I like about his hair? It looks like it could go either way. Right? I love it. It's awesome.
I don't think he's gonna like you saying that about him.
I know I'm saying it. It's, you know what? I mean, because if you look at the part, if you look at his part, right? I mean, it goes this way, that way. It's awesome. I love it.
Not quite down the middle, but yeah.
Exactly. And last but not least, and this one's gonna blow your mind, Alex. Right there, Coach Drew.
You have sympathy with him.
Yes, I do.
But at least his hair slid down his face.
Well, listen, that's just it, though, right? He's got this awesome beard going on, and I said, head of hair, right? Well, the face is on the head.
Okay, that's a stretch. ELA,
it's a little stretch, but
Yeah.
It is. But listen,
I think if you can justify it, that's usually what I tell my students. If you can justify it, I'll go with it. So
there you go.
You got your justification in there. I can't lie.
I like it. See? You see that? That got you, Dave. Haha.
No.
So there you go. I think you.
What?
Is Alex still there?
Yeah.
Oh,
where'd you go?
there you go.
Oh,
okay.
We got him so carried away here. He hit the wrong button.
I'm like, I didn't touch anything. I swear.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, so given those 3 choices, Alex, who on the Syracuse Crunch is the best head of hair?
Music.
Oh yeah, Dave.
Okay. I am going to go with the millennial part, not quite down the center, Hugo Alnefeld for this one.
See, I told you, Dave. I told you.
Told me what?
That part could go anywhere. I'm telling you.
It's the very famous, Gen Z hates the millennial part. And I'm pretty sure that Alnefeld is Gen Z, but for some reason he's rocking it. I am too.
See?
There we go.
Yeah.
See, it's
there
we go.
Right.
Slightly off center, over to the side. I sometimes do it the other way. So I'm going to go with Alnefeld.
Cool.
There you go. You know what? If I had a part, that was probably what I would do too.
Yeah.
But I haven't had a part since I was like 25. So it's,
Gen Z needs to back off the off to the side part because it gentles things up just a little bit. And if you have a really angular face like I do, and I think Alnefeld we could say probably does, it just gentles things. Yeah, we got angles there. Like you can see, he's got some cheekbones. So it just gentles things just a little bit. It makes a difference.
And you know what I like too? He's got that thing going on the left side too. It's like that little and I don't know if that was intentional or not, but
it's a little duck bill.
Yeah, I like it. I really do. So, I mean, that's, you know what, Alex, I got to agree with you on this one too. I really wanted to go with Coach Drew because, us bald guys got to stick together. But, you sold me on this one. You changed my pick. You really did. Because, like I said, I was going to go with
he didn't want me picking is what it was.
Absolutely not. Not this one.
I was going with right here.
See? Nope. There you go. So, all right. Well, you know what? Hugo didn't get the Rookie of the Year, but you know what? He's got the best head of lettuce on the Syracuse Crunch. Maybe I ought to
Good
go to the grocery
consolation prize.
Yeah. Could you imagine the look on the Crunch's office if I sent him a head of lettuce and said, "Could you please give this to Hugo on the phone?"
With his name on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take 315 hockey right off the list.
They'd be rotten
Well, and
by the time it
especially
gets
if they're thinking they have to send this to wherever
I
he's
know.
returning to during the off season.
What are we gonna do with this?
there. That'd be funny.
Customs might not like that too much.
No, not at all.
Freeze it.
Yeah, I have to call. Listen, it's not a joke. It really is. It's an award. Yeah, you guys are way lowbrow. That's it. Oh boy. All right, so moving right along. You know what? We got more visuals for this one. So this one is the best alternate uniform, and you know what? I love this. You know, teams do this. All teams do this, right? Where they come up with a different jersey, a different uniform for a night. I like it because it breaks things up, right? You know, you get that. I mean, listen, everybody likes their team's jerseys and their team's uniforms, but every once in a while, you like to see something different. And
Absolutely.
you know what? We've got 5 choices here to pick from. So there's the first one. The orange throwback jerseys. You know what? I really like these because it's a salute to the old Syracuse Blazers. It's historic in nature. I'm a history kind of guy, and I just love it. I mean, it's a sharp looking jersey. Simple and beautiful. You know what I mean? It's like that. There's nothing overwhelming about it. It's just a very sharp jersey. All right, moving right along. This is the old school Crunch logo. I got to tell you something. If I was a little kid, I'd be terrified of that.
I have to ask, have you seen what he originally looked like back in like 1996?
I do remember that, yeah. And that was even scarier.
Yes, it was.
I'm a grown adult, and I'm kind of, wait a minute.
It's not good.
Don't hit me with that all at once.
Not good.
It's almost kind of like what the Flyers were trying to go with Gritty, and they missed, you know. But it's still cool all the same. It's just, you know, like I said, I'm just glad I'm not a little kid because... Okay, who's our next one here? The Pride jerseys. You know what I liked about these? Now, I got to tell you something, and Dave's heard this story a million times. I'm a child of the 80s, right? I grew up in the 80s, love everything about the 80s. These jerseys are super sharp, and you know what they remind me of? The old Denver Nuggets jerseys from the 80s, and they were so nice, and it was just so bright. I love it. So these are really nice, too. And that's, let's see, when was that game? That was March, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, and this particular picture in this player is no longer with the team. He hasn't been with the team in a couple of seasons, so this jersey is slightly out of date.
Oh, I'm sorry, I grabbed the wrong one.
That's okay. I'm just, you know.
Nope.
But it looked very similar. I mean, there's only so much you can do with these particular jerseys, you know, and still make sure you're hitting all the notes that you want to hit for a Pride night. So, you know, just gentle, like this is just slightly out of date. But that's
well, you know what? That's my fault because I was trying to Google, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, that's it. I looked, I'm like, yeah, that's it, real quick. And I sent it to Dave. So that's entirely my fault. We'll try to find an updated picture at some point. I'll put it on there. That's my fault. Sorry. Let's see. Anyways, and I should have known that by looking at the last name. Like, you know, but anyways, let's see. This is the Hockey Fights Cancer jersey. This is another sharp one right here.
Mm-hmm.
I like this one. I like how that purple offsets with the blue too. It's really, really nice.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's gone through a couple of changes itself over the seasons, and it's only gotten better as they've done more versions of this particular jersey. And it's really nice. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. And last but not least, the Salt City ones. These are really, really nice. I like how that light blue goes with the dark blue and then the white. Oh, it's just a gorgeous looking jersey overall. And I like how they emphasize the Syracuse is known as the Salt City. So it really kind of changes things up in total. So, all right. So there's our 5 choices. Let's get that music ready. All right, Alex, which one is the Syracuse Crunch best alternate uniform?
This was a fight between my head and my heart because my heart is with the blue sort of semi-original logo because that was my logo when I first became a fan. You know, it was different colors. It wasn't the Tampa color scheme, but that was my logo. So seeing Al return, Al is the name of the ice gorilla for those who might not know. He does have a name. And he's named that because if you say go Al, it spells goal because we're real clever here in
There you
Syracuse.
go. See?
It's almost like an ELA, I think.
Yes. So my heart is with that jersey just because that was my first experience as a fan with the team. But my head knows that the Salt City uniforms are by far some of the most creative and just the theming. And, it's hard to tell in some of the pictures, but the numbers on the back actually feature a map of Syracuse. And the majority of them have the on center as like a little focal point in the numbers too. So there was a lot of cleverness and thought that went into it. And, this is one of those jerseys I wasn't able to get my hands on one, unfortunately. And I think it's going to be something I'm going to regret as a fan moving forward. So I got to go with this jersey.
Yeah, I got to agree with you 100% on this one. This is such a gorgeous looking jersey. It really is. And you're right with the details that went into it. Absolutely awesome. So, yeah, I don't think there would be any disagreement, even if we did throw it over to Dave the Save.
No, I like that one.
So, there you go.
But if I had an alternate, I would have gone with the cancer one. I really like the
Yeah,
combo of colors.
That's a nice one
it
too.
looks sharp. The shoulders look neat.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
yeah, absolutely.
But I'll go with you on this one.
All right. Well, see that everybody agrees. I like it.
Wonderful.
Yeah, exactly. And at least this one, we're not going to be sending a head of lettuce to the Syracuse Crunch front office. So,
had the cancer one won, we could have sent blueberries. I feel like
yeah, that's
blueberries
right.
could have had that same. Like if we're going with the food thing, I think the blueberries would have worked.
Yeah, that's right.
Little fruit, vegetables. We could fill
Oh,
a meal
yeah.
out here by the end of the show.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So let's see. Moving right now to the game of the year. Now, these are really, these are tough to pick because, obviously game of the year means a little bit something they're different to everybody, but these are the three that I came up with. So let's see. We got game 2, the Calder Cup playoffs against Rochester, that 3-0 shutout win where they didn't even allow a shot in the first period. That's just amazing. Absolutely amazing. Let's see. Second, we got November 16th. It was a 5-4 shootout win at Springfield. Now, the special thing about this game was, for one thing, they scored 3 third-period goals to tie the game and then win it in the shootout. This game started at 10:30 out there, 10:30 in the morning in Springfield. It was the school game. They had all the school kids there. It's really cool, actually. And that's a really neat thing that Springfield does. And then the Crunch went out and said, "No, kids, this is how you win shootout right here." So,
get your kids back in school.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
right.
Like, sorry, kids, can't win all the time. Go back and learn something.
Here's a life lesson for you. Oh boy. And the third one is, let's see, April Fool's Day. It was a 4-3 overtime win at Wilkes-Barre Scranton. They were down 3-1 in the third period. They came back to tie it in OT. And then the guy we just talked about a little while ago, Philippe Myers, 52 seconds in, he wins it for the Crunch. So there's our 3 nominees. Music, please, for Alex. Alex, your game of the year, please.
Gotta go with game 2 of the Calder Cup playoffs versus Rochester. That was probably the most just solid from top to bottom game of hockey I think I've ever seen this team play. And I think that that's going to be a playoff game, regardless of how the series turned out, that fans are going to be talking about for a very long time after this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell you, I really wanted to go with that shootout win out in Springfield. I did, just because, and I think just because it's the uniqueness of that whole situation, right? Having to go out and play a game that starts at 10:30 in the morning, which hockey players are not used to, by the way. But
no, they always complain about those weird start times.
Yeah,
on Sundays, which their Sundays aren't that far off, but it throws off their schedule. That pregame nap, they need that pregame nap. You can't take a pregame nap at 9:00 in the morning. That doesn't work.
Absolutely. I mean, if I play rec league hockey, I have to have a nap. Of course, I'm also almost 49 years old, so I need a longer nap than most, but that's okay. But again, I got to agree with you on this one, though. That game was just outstanding. And just more or less, you just call it a clinic, because that's what it was. It was a clinic on how to play a playoff game right there. And I'll tell you, that had to make everybody there extremely happy. So no doubt about it there. Let's see. Game of the year, game 1 versus Rochester. Ooh. You know what, though? That's actually not bad right there.
That isn't. I mean, I didn't expect Syracuse to come out to a 2-0 series lead. And I definitely think game one set a tone. It's unfortunate that Syracuse wasn't able to carry that through, but I don't want to get on that topic because I'll just, it's not good.
Cheers are not good.
We're having too much fun. We can't.
Yeah, right. Like, let's keep it upbeat. We don't need to go down that. That's a sad road. We don't need that road right now.
Exactly.
But I could see that argument. Game one definitely set a tone, and it allowed the team to show what they can do when they're all on the same page, which is something that didn't happen very often this season.
Yeah, that's
here she goes. She's sliding into it.
But that's but that can be so frustrating at times though too. When you see the team just puts together like 2 or 3 straight weeks of great hockey, and then all of a sudden, it's hard to watch sometimes. When not watch, but I mean it's just aggravating.
Yes,
very aggravating. 100%. So have that Pepto-Bismol ready. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Okay, so this next category, this one, the fans picked this one, Alex. So we put a little poll out there on the internet, and we wanted to know who the Syracuse Crunch fan favorite was. So we had actually, let's see, we're going to count it out right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 14 different players received votes. So that tells you exactly. These fans love their Syracuse Crunch. There's no doubt about it. But we had a top 3. So coming in at number 3 was Gage Gonzalez. Old Gonzo. That's a great nickname, Gonzo. I love it.
Very hot, very classically hockey. Like
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's perfect. It's awesome. I love it. Let's see. Number 2, and boy, I tell you, number 1 and number 2 were extremely close. They were separated by 2 votes. 2 votes. But coming in second was Daniel Walcott. For a while, I thought he was going to win because he was actually leading. And I'm watching this whole thing go. I'm like, wow. I'm like, and then the winner kind of came back with a flurry at the end. It was quite something. But the winner of the fan favorite for the Syracuse Crunch, as voted on by the fans, Alex Beret-Boulet. So, I mean, not unsurprising, though. I mean, how can you the guy who finished second in points overall in the AHL, I'm sure is going to get some votes for the favorite player. So, yeah, that's
I mean, and he owns like every single Crunch franchise record at this point in time, except for the one that Walcott owns, which is most games played in a Crunch jersey.
Right.
So, he's definitely someone that the fans recognize, appreciate. And from what I've observed, I think he also has a really good rapport with the fans, which Walcott certainly does too. He knows the fans. He loves the fans. He moved to the community, which how rare that is for AHL players. So, I can see how Beret-Boulet might have squeaked that one out just a little bit. So now he owns yet another franchise record and award. So
well, there you go. Exactly. Right. And again, it won't be ahead of lettuce. So, hey, take that for what it's worth, right?
He probably would have had an easier time bringing that one home, though. Than
probably. Yes, I'd imagine. I'm still visualizing that, and I'm just snickering to myself over that.
To keep it fresh, you put it in foil.
Yeah.
There you go. Alex is like, how did he even know that?
I just wrap the plastic that it came in back.
No, that's not what you do. Foil keeps it longer.
Yeah. Was it okay? Well, yeah. There you go. Now, see, we just learned a gardening trip or tip.
I don't know where that came from, but yeah,
really.
I think that's true. Yeah.
There you go. See that? We had an ELA lesson, and now we got a gardening lesson.
That's it.
This is just great. Okay, so I'll tell you what. I guess this moves us on to our last category. So, of course, we're going to wrap up with the most valuable player, the MVP. Now, I had 3 nominees, and Alex, I know you want to add one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the 3 off that I got, and then we're going to add yours, and then we're going to do our voting. All right? All right, so first up, Alex Beret-Boulet. We can go on and on with the list, but let's just suffice it to say that, let's see, regular season, he had 69 games played. He had 24 goals, 60 assists for 84 points. He took 225 shots, 24 power play points. He was, like I mentioned, second in the AHL in points, 1 point off from winning the title from Michael Carcone. In the playoffs, he had 5 games played. He had a goal and 8 assists for 9 points. It's dynamite, along with 17 shots. Let's see, nominee number 2. Simon Reifers, he had 72. He played in all 72 games this year. Led the team with 27 goals. He had 32 assists for 59 points. He had 3 game-winning goals and took 148 shots. And my third nominee is not technically with the team right now. He's still, Tampa Bay, which unfortunately didn't advance in the playoffs. But because of the season that he had when he was with the Crunch, I had to put him on this list. Darren Radish, 50 games played, 13 goals, 38 assists, and 51 points. He had 135 shots. He was a plus 19. He had 10 power play points. What a season he was having before he got called up. So that's why I put him on my MVP list because, like I said, he's still playing over half the games. So, Alex, I know you want to add one.
I do. And, I really examined this because my bias towards this player is very well documented. I don't hide it, but I really feel that the fact that this team plays differently when Gabriel Dumont is in the lineup versus out of the lineup is worth consideration for MVP for this past season.
Absolutely.
I think last season, Dumont had a more impressive season. Last season was a career season for Dumont. This season, not quite as impressive. He struggled with some injuries. He had some personal things going on. He only got in 55 games, 39 points in those 55 games. He was 6th on the team in points. But, one of the differences in the playoffs was that for games 3 and 4, Dumont was suspended. And that's not something that you want me to get into either because I have thoughts. But
feel free to if you want to. Hey, listen,
Hey,
open forum, go for it.
She's teasing me. She comes out with ELA and then she does this.
Yeah, well.
I have thoughts about the fact that he got 2 games for what really amounted to an accidental hit and, a player missing a minute and then a game and then a player getting 3 games for a headshot that put someone out indefinitely a couple games later in a different series. It just doesn't really seem equal to me.
Right.
But the fact is Syracuse played very differently in games 3 and 4 than they did in games 1. And in game 2, when Dumont got his misconduct for that hit, the team almost seemed to rally around the fact that he had been kicked out of the game. And we saw this all season long with Syracuse, where when their captain was in it, and really that's the role of an AHL captain, more so than in the NHL. The captain in the AHL is that settling factor. They're the guy that's going to, lead by example, pull things out when things are tough, be the one to take the hits and do some of those physical plays and score when it matters. And I really think Dumont was the one who ignited Syracuse's comeback in game 5. And it was very obvious that when he scored Syracuse's 3rd goal, things were turning around. And I just really think that the way the team plays when he's out there versus the way that they played when he wasn't is worth consideration.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And he played in the AHL All-Star Classic as well. There
He did.
So that's a very, very good way to put it right there. Cause you're right. It was a completely different team when he wasn't playing and it showed. But now that we have 4 choices, it's time. We got to decide who your pick is for the MVP. Music, please, Dave. All right, Alex. Who is the MVP of the Syracuse Crunch?
I'm going to make things complicated, and I'm going to stick with Dumont.
Wow. Hey, listen, I like it. I like chaos. This is great.
Jeez.
This is great. I love it. But you know what? She's got a great point, though.
She made a compelling argument.
She did. It's not always all about numbers. No. It really isn't. But with that said, I'm going to make it all about numbers. I'm going to stay with Alex Bravely. The unbelievable season that he had. You can't even come close to anything around here with that. Like you just mentioned, all the records he's set. This season, he may actually just win the AHL MVP anyways from people who actually hand out awards rather than just talk about heads of lettuce and crayons, stuff like that. But really, I got to tell you something, looking at those numbers, I just don't see how there's any way I could not vote for him. And I know for, league awards, they don't count the playoffs. I count the playoffs when I look at this because to me, it's the whole body of work. And he was almost a 2-point-a-game player in the playoffs. So for me, Alex Bure-Boulet is my team MVP. However, now that we have a difference of opinion here and we got a little bit of chaos, Dave the Save, what say you?
Alex, she made just such an incredible argument for Dumont, but I think you're right. The numbers relay, there's just no way to overcome those.
Yeah. I mean, if they weren't so dominant, that's
Yeah.
you know, I mean, if it was one of those where he put up, say, 60 points, then I could definitely been swayed by what Alex said. And it was a great argument. But like I said, those kind of numbers, kind of hard to deny.
Yep.
But all right.
I wanted to. She had me going there.
I know it, but
the more she spoke, the more I was pulling for this guy.
Exactly, right?
The underdog thing. I was like, damn, this guy needs it.
I know, right? Well, I'll tell you what, if you ever decide you're not going to be an ELA teacher anymore, you could be a lawyer, because that was really compelling.
It was excellent.
Thank you.
Closing arguments were awesome.
They were.
I've been on a lot of interviews lately, so I think for my real life, not for this fun that we're having here, and so I think that sort of fed into my ability to build up an argument. So thank you for that.
Awesome.
Using us for practice.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
Yeah. Jeez.
All right. Well, Alex, there are a couple of news and notes here from the world of the Syracuse Crunch, but I think first we're going to just take a real quick commercial break. We'll catch our breaths here, get a swallow of water, and we'll be right back with all the Syracuse Crunch news and notes.
Visit My Little Falls and stay connected with the latest news, information, and events in the city and the area. Our mission is to generate interest in the community and connect residents in a more meaningful way by facilitating deeper conversations about how these stories will shape the future of the Mohawk Valley. Join thousands of weekly visitors who stay up to date with feature stories, interviews, videos, our event calendar, and print publication, the Mohawk Valley Express. It's about timely local news for the community, keeping citizens informed about important issues, telling about the people who live and work here, and giving locally owned businesses the opportunity to reach a very targeted audience of locals and tourists alike. It's a whole new form of media-rich content developed specifically for today's mobile lifestyle and listeners. You can download our iOS app in the iTunes Store, listen to our country music streaming radio station, or sign up for a weekly newsletter. Stop by today at mylittlefalls.com. You'll be glad you did.
And we're back with segment 2. Alex, I got to ask you something. Listening to that song, does that not remind you like a Rocky theme song or something like that?
Oh yeah, for sure. You definitely or even just like a player introduction song, for a game or something. Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to say, Dave the Save did a great job with that one. I got to give that one to him. So, absolutely. All right. So, yeah, there's just been a few news and notes coming out here. Teams change every year. Every year, guys come and go. And it looks like the Crunch are going to have a big loss to deal with. Simon Reifers is going back overseas. He's going over to Sweden to play in the SHL. He's signed a 4-year contract. So, that's going to be kind of a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, it's tough in the Lightning organization, because I think sometimes these players sign on expecting that they're going to get a chance to make Tampa and get into the NHL and get that time. And the Lightning they don't have the really, unless they have like a catastrophic string of injuries to their forward core, promoting from within right now during the regular season is just not really something that the Lightning can or really should want to do. So it's tough. If that's what these guys are looking for, the Lightning organization is a challenging place to find that.
It is, because I mean the Lightning are nowhere near a rebuild. So it's they're not going to be calling guys up from the minors all the time to get them a look or anything like that, because they're always right there in a playoff hunt, and that's really no time to say, let's give this guy 9 games. Let's see what he's got.
Yes.
Not when you're battling for a playoff spot every season. It's kind of tough. I noticed on your Twitter feed a couple days ago too. We've been talking about Daniel Walcott, and they had the Crunch put out the player notes to end the season, and you had a little concern about Daniels.
I did. So Walcott been a fixture of the Syracuse community now for 8 years. He, as we talked before, he bought a home in Syracuse, which is unheard of for AHL players, just because, as you mentioned, that roster turnover is high. To have a player with the team for longer than 2 seasons is pretty remarkable. 8 years is incredible. So the fact that he's so well known in the community, he's a big part of everything. But I noticed that after game 5, when the team was out on the ice to give the final salute to the fans and everything, Walcott was more upset than I would imagine a player might be at the end of a really competitive playoff round. He was very visibly upset. And that's usually not him, even when things are really tough. And then when they did those graphics that you were just talking about, his was very much like, thanks for all of the support this season. And then for the last 8 years too. And, I remember when Mike McKenna was with this team in 2017 and the team went to the Calder Cup final. There was a big push to bring McKenna back, obviously, because of everything that had happened. He came in at the trade deadline. He dragged the team kicking and screaming into the playoffs. Like, it was impressive. His little graphic put, it was an honor to represent Syracuse. And when I read Walcott's, I got that same sinking feeling that there's something going on here. And sure enough, McKenna was not invited back. He went to Texas and then went to another Calder Cup final. So, I mean, good for him.
Right.
But that message from Walcott just caught me off guard because it very much seemed like a little bit of a goodbye.
Yeah. And then looking at Cap Friendly here, I mean, he is an unrestricted free agent. So, I mean, hopefully things will work out and, he comes back to the team because that would be a devastating loss.
It would be, and I think for the community too. I know just from what the team has told me in passing, he does a lot more work for the community. He's been the Crunch's Man of the Year, I think probably almost every year, if not every year since he joined the team. But he does a lot more work behind the scenes that he just won't let the team publicize than the fans will ever know. So it's going to be a big loss in that area too. And I just... it's going to be hard no matter how you feel about his scrappy play on the ice. You can't deny how much players like him mean to American Hockey League communities. These are the reasons why when fans try to argue for arena upgrades or lease renewals, these are some of the top reasons why fans want AHL teams in their cities because of Walcott.
Absolutely. And it goes right back to what we were talking about during the Unsung Hero. I mean, all this stuff that he does, and there's even more, like you said, that fans don't even know about, which is absolutely incredible. Speaking of unrestricted free agents and guys that could potentially be going, Max Legacy is an unrestricted free agent as well. However, the Crunch did announce today that they have signed Matt Tompkins to a 2-year, 2-way deal. I'm going to guess that the net next season pretty much belongs to Hugo Alnefelt. In reading the tea leaves, obviously. But I mean, you never know. You might have a new tandem next year.
I'm leaning towards that's what the Lightning is picturing, is that Tompkins and Alnefelt will share the net in Syracuse. I don't think Alnefelt's ready to back up Vasilevsky just because that's really tough for a young goalie in their first NHL contract year to be sitting for as much time as he would be sitting for. I think the Lightning isn't going to want that. Their track record for developing goalies pretty much begins and ends with Vasilevsky. So they don't seem to have that part of the whole developmental process down just yet. But I don't think that they would want Alnefelt to go up and sit for the majority of a season like an NHL backup does.
Right.
So my guess is this is going to be that older veteran that will be the mentor to Alnefelt as he hopefully ages out of that rookie season that, as you said,
the never-ending rookie season
forever. And, it'll be interesting to see how the 1-2 situation works out. If we're going to end up with almost like we did this season with that 1A, 1B situation where Alnefelt and Legacy played almost the same amount of games, mostly because of injuries, but that's besides the point. Or if Alnefelt will just take over, it'll be interesting to see where this goes.
Yeah, it will be because, I mean, Brian Elliott, who was the Lightning backup this season, he's 38. We don't know if they're going to, if he's going to come back for next season. In all reality, Legacy does have NHL experience, The Lightning are a little tight against the cap, so I mean, there's a possibility that maybe he signs with them to back up Vasilevsky. Who knows? I mean, we're not in the minds of Breezeball for sure. But I will say this: I was doing a little research on Tompkins, and did you know he got into a goalie fight?
Lucas Favale, the team's play-by-play and radio announcer and media person, retweeted one of the fights. I mean, goalie fights are kind of a thing of the past. We don't see it as much anymore, mostly because you want your goaltender to keep going in the game. And if that happens, they can't, and that's a problem. So we don't really see it happen as much anymore. But he definitely will fit into the, kind of the Syracuse legendarium when it comes to those things, because there have certainly been some memorable fights. Like I'm thinking of one, Dustin Tokarski, right before he got traded, got into a pretty memorable one way back when. So there have definitely been ones that stick out in the fans' minds when it comes to goalies who are willing to fight.
Goalies, who needs those?
I can't imagine how angry the coaching staff must be. So much goes into to start the game, and then they get into a fight, and then they can't play the game anymore, and so then they have to change I can't imagine how frustrating that must be for the coaching staff.
Gotta be kidding me.
So, yeah.
You just couldn't stay in your crease, could you? You just couldn't do it.
Stay in your lane.
I know. I feel like I'm talking to one of my kids. It's because you just couldn't stay in the crease.
I tell you, you said that Elliot is 38. I'm 38, and I can't. I mean, my hip acts up if I walk faster than usual. So I can't imagine still being a goaltender.
There's no way. Yeah,
even with the professional training and the stuff, I can't imagine. No, thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I hear you. I mean, I still, I call it play beer league hockey. I'm more or less a pylon, and
everyone has their part on
it was
the team.
once a week, right? And for 2 days afterwards, I'm like, just slow motion. But anything else you're looking for with the Crush to do this off season?
I would like to see a little bit more investment than just maybe swapping out a player or two, which it seems like has been the Lightning's MO. And I know that there's the cap situation. There's always the cap situation with the Lightning. I swear to God, it could be like it's raining outside. Well, it's because of the Lightning's cap. It seems like it's an excuse for everything. So I would like to see a little bit more investment in the defense. I think that Syracuse has some really promising younger players, but the depth, I mean, everyone saw what happened once Radish got recalled. And then when he didn't get sent back down for the playoffs, that I still can't help but feel Syracuse could have won that game 5 if Radish was in the lineup.
Yeah.
I think it made a big difference not having the depth for Syracuse to be able to recover from that type of player being recalled. That's problematic in the AHL because it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So I would like to see more investment made there. It seems like the goaltending set, Dumont is signed for another season with his AHL only contract. So the captaincy is good. Ryfor's leaving. They're going to have to invest in some way, shape, or form at the forward core because the cupboards with the draft situation, they're becoming a little bare.
Right.
So, it's hard because AHL teams really tend to build on those 20-somethings that aren't ready for the NHL, but were higher draft picks. And so they have that talent that they can bring in. And those players aren't really there anymore in the organization. So, I think that I would just like to see a little bit more of an investment in the depth in the organization because having, I figured out the stats the other day. I think it was the top 6 of Syracuse scorers scored almost 50% of all of the points in the season. And that includes Radish, who wasn't in Syracuse for the end of the season. So that spread needs to be higher next season because AHL teams can't survive on that compact of a scoring spread. They just can't.
Exactly. You're so right. And like with the Lightning, they've had their Stanley Cup window open for so long that, with the NHL clubs, they tend to trade away first round picks to keep that window open. And
Yep.
eventually it does start catching up a little bit where all of a sudden it's like, okay, we don't have any first rounders coming in here. So you really got to develop those second, third, fourth round. And it can be very difficult. It
Mhm.
really can. So, but that's a very good point. Very great point. And you know what? AHL does have its own free agency too. So you never know what could happen in the off season.
Yeah, and the scouting staff does a really great job. They love scouting like the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League and finding those diamonds in the rough like Barry Boulet that come
Sure.
in, and the scouting staff does a great job. But there's also some really good AHL veterans and well-known names that are going to be available this summer that I think it would behoove the Lightning to try to go after, just to give Syracuse a little bit more of a cushion.
Right. Absolutely. Well, we'll see what happens though. That's it's what makes it all fun in the off season. But I will say that with that, like I said at the beginning, this is it for us for the end of the season. And Alex, we couldn't think of anybody better that we would want to end our season with.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really have loved coming on the couple of times I have, and I really hope to see you guys next season and be able to come on and talk about the 30th anniversary of Syracuse Crunch Hockey.
Oh, absolutely. Have they announced anything yet specifically as far as what they plan on doing, or just kind of giving a little teaser out there saying, be ready, we're going to have a great season?
Yeah, nothing official. I do know that like season ticket holders who renew by a certain time, I think there's something that we're getting for that specific, a tumbler or something like that. But other than that, they haven't announced anything concrete that they're going to be doing for the 30th anniversary. But Syracuse usually does a really nice job of picking former players that made an impact in the community over those years. I know for the 25th anniversary, I think it was Mike Angelidis, John Morasti, and is it Jody Shelley or someone along those lines that came back for the home opener that season, just to try to represent that range of the team's history. And they usually do a really nice job. So I'm looking forward to what they have in store for the 30th coming up this season.
That's awesome. Any more Syracuse Speaks coming out?
Yeah, actually, I'll have one coming out on Sunday where I ask an interesting question about whether Crunch fans think it's time to raise the bar, because historically, AHL teams, the goal is to make the playoffs.
Right.
Syracuse has made the playoffs every year since 2017, and every year except 2017 since, they haven't done anything. And that's kind of weird and a little annoying. And it makes me really wonder, especially now in a league where most teams make the playoffs.
Right.
The league is very weird right now because making the playoffs doesn't seem as special anymore when you only have two teams in every division not making the playoffs.
It's almost special to not make the playoffs.
Right? Yeah. Like you what did you do if you didn't make the playoffs? Because everybody made the playoffs. So, I really wonder and question if it's time for the Lightning brass to say it's no longer making the playoffs. We want to make that Eastern Conference Finals. And I lay out a couple of reasons for that, and I talk through some things. So I hope that it'll resonate with fans, and I'm looking forward to the feedback.
That is awesome. I know I'll be listening. That's going to be a great show. And we got your Twitter handle right there on the bottom there, at FPH Crunch, which, like I said, always interesting. If you want to know what's going on with the Crunch, go to Alex's Twitter handle, because like I said, and I love it that you put your opinion in with it too. That's great.
Thank you.
I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. All right. Yeah, that's fantastic. So I think that's going to be all for us for this season. Like I said, Alex, thank you for coming on and sharing our Syracuse Crunch Award show with us. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching this show. It's been a fantastic first season. We will be back in September for more fun here at 315 Hockey Live. But with that said, for Dave the Save Warner, I'm Scott Kinville. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next season on 315 Hockey Live.